All right, let's get started. We have almost 150 people considering this is a long weekend, 4th of July. It's pretty good. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Ted Kai, and I am the co-founder of Momentum Learning. It's my pleasure to have Isabella in the Zoom meeting, and she's gonna go through her presentation. She will be discussing a very specific theme, which is girls in contest math. In industry, we see few women in the STEM field. Specifically, if you look at high tech, the big high tech companies, majority of the engineers are men. When you look at middle school and high school, any STEM related activities, including competitions, you don't see as many girls participating. When I go to math contests, I see roughly maybe 10% of the participants are girls. So that's really a pretty small portion of the entire population. And that poses a lot of difficulty in terms of finding people who have similar interests so that it's a lot easier to go on studying. Many people and institutions have started their efforts try to promote girls in the STEM field. For example, MAA started the AMC Young Women in Mathematics Prize and Certificate Program. There are AMC 8, AMC 10, AMC 12. There are multiple different awards specifically for girls. And this is mainly to encourage the participation of the girls. For AMC 10, there's a Mariam Masahani Award, which is in honor of the Iranian female math professor from Stanford. I think she passed away a few years ago. She's the first woman who received the Fields Medal. That's the most prestigious mathematics awards. I think a lot of people are making an effort to making it easier for girls to participate. And then we know the famous Math Prize for Girls. That's where the top 250, 300 girls participate in the math contests at MIT every fall. Recently, especially in the maybe past 2 years, I see more girls interested in STEM and more girls participating in math competitions. I think that's a really good sign. Now let's transition to talk about Isabella a little bit. Let's go to the next slide. Isabella, she started, as you can see, she started doing contest math pretty early. She's an 8-time Amy qualifier, and she's a 7-time Math Prize for Girls qualifier. If I count it right, she first qualified Amy in elementary school. That's a very young age. Later on, she made JMO, she made MOP. Then she started doing research. She attended the RSI summer camp, which is the most prestigious research summer camp last year, I think after the junior year. And prior to that, I think she attended high school honor math camp at San Marcos. Isabella, we want to hear your journey. How did you start it? And how did you overcome maybe some of the difficulties? And was that even an issue for you that you don't see as many girls doing math or STEM related stuff as you are growing up? And if that's an issue, or even that's not an issue, how did you cope with that? And what kind of advice will you give to other girls who are just starting, who's interested in STEM, but they cannot find their peers to do it? I have everybody muted. During her presentation, let's stay muted. And after she finished her presentation, I have already collected some questions, which I sent to her beforehand. She's gonna go through those questions first. Then she's gonna take a look at the chat room. Whatever question that she did not cover previously, she will be able to cover that after her presentation. So please hold your questions, just type them in the chat room. All right, so with that said, Isabella, thank you for being here. And now it's all your turn.
Hi, I'm Isabella. It's really nice to see you all. Yeah, and it's a really big honor to be able to present and talk about my experiences with math. So I'm gonna just start by talking a little bit of what I've done in math contests, or mostly math contests. This is the culmination of very many years of math contests. So and all of it has been just a kind of the result of like a lot of work and a lot of hard practice. So, but yeah, and now I'll talk about how I got to this point, and let's begin. So just a couple of terms with regards to math contests beforehand. This is the primary math contest cycle, which is the AMC contest run by the MAA. We start with about 50,000 participants in the AMC 10 or 12, which is a 25 question and 75-minute multiple choice exam. If you score highly, around 90 points for the AMC 12 or 100 for the AMC 10, qualifies you for AMY, which is the second phase. I don't have an exact number on how many people are in AMY. It's around 5,000, sometimes 6,000. I don't have the exact number. It's a 15 question and 3-hour short answer exam. This is like quite a lot more difficult than the AMCs, and usually there are a good number of people who get stuck here. But if you score well, you are scoring well on both the AMY and AMCs qualifies you for the USA JMO or USMO. This is a proof-based exam. It's very long, 9 hours long, and scoring. And if you score well on this, you attend MOP, and then after that is IMO. I'm gonna kind of refer to these contests a lot, which is why I'm defining them here, because they're kind of the big contests as opposed to some of the other ones that are a bit more minor. So yeah. Now let's just talk about. I'm gonna start by looking back at my very lengthy math career, and yeah. So I started actually doing. I've always liked math, even when I was really young. But I didn't even know that math contests existed until in third grade. Everyone at my school from third through fifth grade was required to do MOEMs, which is kind of it's like an elementary / middle school level math contest. And this really started my interest in contest math because these were the kinds of questions that you don't get to solve much at school. You don't and required more problem solving than like your average plug and chug math at school. I really liked it, and afterwards I started studying math more extensively, mostly with the AMC 8 and 10. Like after school every day, I would go to a nearby public library and just do AMC 8 and eventually AMC 10 problems. And in fourth grade, I did well on the AMC 8, but I was just completely I was completely destroyed on the AMC 10. I think I got something like a 70 or a 60, not even close. And I was like, that was fun, I can't wait to do it again. But wow, that was really hard. Maybe I should try and get good and do well next year. So at around this, so when you're starting off math, I would definitely recommend MOEMs as like an introductory contest. The AMC is also great. I don't have much experience with Math Kangaroo, and AMC 10 is definitely there once you kind of ascended that level. I kind of put recommended contests because these are the contests that you like can start doing at a pretty young age, or at whatever stage I'm like talking about in this specific time. So for like around, so this is kind of what I did in around third or fourth grade. Then in 2015, which was my fifth grade year, I decided to take the AMC 12, which is kind of a baffling decision that I don't even remember exactly why I made, but I just figured that I really liked complex numbers or logs or trig, which is the primary difference between the 10 and 12. So I just figured that I would just try out the 12. I kind of enjoyed it a bit more because I liked all of these extra subjects. And I didn't even know what AMY was at the time. So it wasn't really for that reason. But thanks to a lucky guess on number 25, I made AMY with a score of 102. And this really launched me into like a new phase of my math career. And as I got to know the people from around my city, now that I had kind of reached some level of being good, for some definition, I'm not sure. I got to learn more about the math contest world, especially within my city, and meet tons of people who had also made AMY. And yeah, I got to meet the math, and that was also how I joined the Austin Math Circle. And I even got to meet another girl who was also in my area, and we were about the same level too. So that was a lot of fun. I also learned who Luke Rubatai was at this time, and was humbled very quickly because I made AMY that year. I was feeling great about myself, and then I learned that there was a kid who was my age who got a perfect score on the AMY. So go figure. And this is the question, and this is the problem in question that I actually guessed on. That I just put it there for mostly nostalgia reasons. So now I moved into middle school, and I started taking contest math as my primary thing. Like prior to this, I had done like kind of a variety of things. Tried out sports, tried out various other things. Like did piano, but I dropped pretty much everything just to focus on contest math. Math counts was my big focus at around this time, and I really dreamed on being the state team and representing Texas in the national team. And I never actually got there, but I did get some nice trophies at the time. It was a great few years for my school as well. I remember when I was in 6th grade, we qualified for the state contest, and that was the first time in around 4 years that we had done so. And my math coach was crying afterwards from joy because she never thought we could do it, but we did. Um, and yeah, and in my 7th and 8th grade years, we also made top 10 teams in the state, which is also like a very rare occurrence for our middle school. So that was really cool. I also went to a couple. I even started traveling to some contests as well around this time. I went to Math Prize for Girls, which is a really big contest that I will talk a bit more about later. Like it has its own dedicated slide. HMMT, which is at Harvard/MIT, and also PMWC, as you can see in this picture. That is me and some of my friends. We went to Hong Kong to represent the US in the primary math world contest. That was also a lot of fun. Some recommended contests at around this time, math counts. Math counts kind of works for either stage. You could do it at the beginning or later. The MMC is the MathWorks math contest. Obviously AMC, Amy, those are like the really big ones. And then MPFG, even if you're, math counts is specifically for middle schoolers. Everything else is like open for any age. Yeah. And then AMC, Amy are obviously your good ones. And then Math Prize for Girls is around Amy level. So it makes for a good practice, even if you're not actually female. So you can look up questions from previous years. But also my middle school years were kind of rough for me because I had a deep-seated fear of hard problems. And this is kind of one of my big suggestions. When you're doing practice, don't just do easy problems that make you feel good about yourself for being able to do math. You really have to challenge yourself. And I did not do this. So every time I did like one of the easier contests, like math counts or sometimes the AMCs, I would feel fine. But when I would try doing the Amy, I never actually did well enough to hop into USA JMO, unlike a lot of my peers. I guess missing out on math counts nationals was also pretty rough, but it's all good. And I also had a pretty big ego problem around there then because I felt really good about making Amy at such a young age. I was like, yeah, I made Amy and you guys didn't, therefore I'm better than you. So with that, I got kind of complacent and I didn't study much. And honestly, during that year, I kind of plateaued. During those few years, I kind of plateaued, which is definitely one of my bigger regrets. I feel like I could have done a lot more had I not just like settled at around that time. But that's just how it is. Around my so 2019 and 2020 was when I finally got into high school, and my math counts days were long behind me. I did well at Math Prize for Girls and HMT November, but in my 9th grade year, I did not make JMO, and I started legitimately considering to quit because I hadn't made it like at all in these several years. In fact, and it felt like pretty much everyone else around me had made it, which is kind of dumb because I feel because I really loved contest math. So deciding to quit just because I hadn't done well was I felt like it was just such a rash like feeling, but it was starting and I kind of regret having that thought at all, but it was starting to get to me and I felt like my scores really defined me, which it doesn't. But in my 2020 year, I did kind of poorly at the AMCs and I was like, all right, it's time to quit. I don't think I'll make JMO this year and I don't think I'm a successful mathematician at all. So I went into the Amy room for what I thought would be my last contest, but I ended up making the USA JMO and then eventually MOP. See if you can find me in this Zoomified group picture. Though not Zoomified, but like this virtual group picture. Even though MOP was virtual, I made a lot of friends there regardless. It was a very intense program, but also really fun. And I especially bonded with the other girls in the program who were known as the pre-moppers, sometimes known as the pink moppers, but I know MAA prefers to call them pre-moppers. This is followed by doing well at HOT and PUMAC. And then getting to RSI. Even though everything was virtual, I'm very grateful for my experiences. But I also do want to highlight that if you look in this picture, there's like one row of girls like in the middle, and then like a couple scattered around else. And this isn't even everyone at MOP, but I distinctly remember that the gender ratio was something like 4 to 1. So all the girls kind of huddle together. And yeah, and this is kind of a recurring theme. Like if you actually go back a couple slides, I am the only girl in this entire picture. So yeah, that that was kind of unfortunate. I had gotten used to it at this point, but I will highlight a lot of the issues that girls face in math, contest math. And finally, this is the most recent school year. I applied to, I had a pretty chill college application process. I started a podcast with the MAA. I did a final round, like a final victory lap with some fun team contests, which Armel was finally in person. And I could finally just like sit back and look back on my years and just, you know, prepare for the next phase where I probably won't be doing as many contests. So yeah, and I am going to MIT. So I'm going to MIT in the fall, and it's been my dream college for many years. So that I'm very excited about that. And so that's pretty much all of the stuff with my story. Now I'm going to slow down a bit since that was kind of a here's everything I've done. But now I'm going to talk about the things that I've picked up kind of along the way. So the first question I know that a lot of people are going to ask about are just, what did you do to get good? I want to first state that number one, your biggest focus should be doing lots of practice problems, do a lot of problems. I had like a notebook where I would do all of my problems in. Or keep spreadsheets where I keep track on which problems I did, but but it doesn't matter how you do it, you just need to really do a lot of problems. That is like the most effective way in training your mind on how to like think about problems. Whether it's getting faster with easy problems or it's thinking deeply about harder problems, you just really need to be doing problems and preferably like a large variety. So as for books and stuff, pretty much all AOPS books are great, like volume 2, or EGMO, which is your Euclidean geometry for math Olympiads. That one's good for like for a higher level. I can't say too much about camps because the only camp I ever did was MathWorks. So I did idea math one year, but the only camp I really went to was MathWorks at Texas State, which isn't super contest focused, but that's like the only one I really have experience with. I definitely recommend it. It's like it was a really great camp for me, and I made a lot of great friends while also conducting some research there. But I don't have experience with, say, Awesome Math or I can't think of any, or like Math Canada USA. I don't have any experience with those, but I'm sure they're lovely programs. For classes, I don't like AOPS classes very much because what they do is they just throw you into like a virtual classroom and you don't even like listen to like a person talk. You just watch them. Like it's entirely conducted through like a chat room system, which makes it really easy to get distracted. So yeah, I didn't feel like I learned much from those, even though I did take a few. Otis is an Olympiad training program run by Evan Chen. That one's also fine, but it's definitely for much higher level students. And I only did it for a year, so I can't speak too much. In general, the kind of classes that I felt like were most effective were small group practices, or maybe even one-on-one tutoring, but I don't have too much experience with that. But small group classes are probably like the best overall. I feel like Momentum probably offers like a handful of those, but in general, because it makes it so that you learn. It makes it so that you learn a lot. You learn a lot because you feel less like drowned out in like a very large group, while still like I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but it's like probably the best environment from my experience. And also I'm going to mention Athamath as a small program that I helped teach in. This one is really special because it's run by one of my friends, and B, it's entirely for girls. And it's a really great experience. I was a teacher there. You're put in like classes of like size from 4 to 6 people, and you learn lots of like really interesting math. And it's also like very relatively budget friendly. So I just wanted to give that one a shout out since for me it was like a really great experience to teach at. as more general advice for math practice, um, let's see. I know burnout is definitely a big issue that lots of people run into. Um, since like doing problems like repeatedly gets really tiring. Um, oh, Athama, no, I'll cover questions later, but in general, like doing lots of questions can lead to burnout very quickly. Um, so so my best advice for that is to try to make practice like somewhat fun for yourself. Whether that's like watching yourself improve with like the questions that you couldn't solve before, or like revisiting problems that you weren't able to do previously. That's like a good way to like improve yourself. But burnout will happen, and in that case, like it definitely becomes necessary like take a step back and take a break. um I'm gonna see what other like specific advice I could give with problems. um I think I don't think that you should only do problems as a way to improve though, because that just like because then then you don't really improve. Like there's still like this bubble of problems you can do and problems you can't, and then you need to improve on how well you can do those problems that you need to get to the level on the problems that you can't. Um, so yeah, this is so what I want to say about practice is that there are like three areas that you should be practicing in. That would be like power, speed, and accuracy. And those are like all really important things in math contests. Power is just how much do you know? Like how big is your mathematical toolbox that you can use to apply to whatever problems you encounter. Speed is speed, accuracy is accuracy. Speed and accuracy are the ones that you can do that you improve by doing a ton of problems and a ton of mock contests, and they tend to be like very important. But power is definitely like important, is equally important, and is also like a big block on um against you. Like, and power is like the big thing that actually helps you improve on like which level of contest you're able to solve. So power you improve by like learning new content, whether that's through like slowly learning from books, or like taking classes or whatever works for you. But while speed and accuracy you do with problems, you definitely need like a fine balance, a balanced diet of all things. And how I overcame my plateau was finally taking like improving that like power stat. Like I finally started like slowing down, stop doing so many mock contests and like seeing what scores I get on those, and slow down and just focus on learning more content so that I could finally get through those last few those AIME problems that were really tripping me up. I hope that helps somewhat. And yeah, I am definitely open to any questions about like specific practice things, since I since I can only talk about it a bit more broadly. So now let's talk about math girls. This because this is like kind of that was enough. That's enough about me. Now let's talk about like women in math in general. I did not notice the gender disparity in math at first because my my school team was exactly 50-50 girls, if like male to female, and this wasn't because of like skill or anything. Like the girls were not worse than the boys. Everyone was like the same level. Like as you can see, this is our 4-member math counts team, like the team, and then there were like 6 individuals, and I would say like I like 3 of those individuals were girls, and then like 3 member or no, two individuals were girls, and there were 3 on the team, as you can see in this picture. And then it was so weird because as I went through from 6th to 7th to 8th grade, the number of girls on this 4-person team went from 3 to 2 to 1. I just kind of watched like like girls slowly stop doing math. So and it's I kind of had to adapt socially to make up for that. But it was pretty rough, and I just couldn't understand why these girls were quitting because I had so much fun with doing contest math, and it was really important to me. So why were everyone else leaving? Um, so let's see. So like, why would girls quit math at all? Well, in general, there's like that minority. I happen to be kind of lucky with my school team, so I didn't even notice at first. But when you're a girl and you first start, very often you're the only like you're one of like maybe 3 girls in like in a testing room, and that loneliness, that feeling of being like very isolated or like the feeling of being like very isolated and kind of on your own, that can sometimes lead you to do worse and not feeling at home at a math contest. And then that leads you to just like slowly lean towards quitting more and more. That, and also you may start off with work, and then that kind of creates like a domino effect where you drop out, and then and then whatever other girls around you, they're like they just lost a friend, so they also drop out, and then it just like creates this thing where slowly you watch more and more of your friends like drop out of math contests, and it gets really depressing. Like I had a lot of really close friends who like female friends who did math back in like my elementary and middle school years, and then almost all of them just dropped. um there is also like kind of a maturity issue. This is a bit weird to talk about, but girls tend to mature faster than boys, and when you have so many boys who do math, you get a lot of like immature kids, and it gets very easy to be frustrated with that. And I know this for a fact. Like uh, when I was in middle school, like every single other kid who did math, other guy who did math, they were just like so annoying. And that was also a factor. I was like, why do you guys act like this? And also there's this doesn't I'm very lucky to not have seen this too much for myself, but there is also an element of sexism. Like I have not actively been discriminated against because I'm a girl, and I'm very, very lucky that has not happened to me. But I do remember a very specific instance where I announced that I had made mob. A guy I knew DM'd me and was like, "Oh, what you get?" And I gave him my score, and he's like, "Oh, that explains. Oh, wait, yeah, you're a girl. That explains." And then he posted on his social media like a few hours after that saying, "If I pretend like I'm a girl next year, can I make mob?" And I was just so baffled. Like, why would you say that? But that is definitely that was probably the worst experience I've had with a person. But I know plenty of girls who have had it a lot worse. And all of those factors, they just kind of slowly build up. So even if you start off really loving math, you just slowly just start quitting, and that is really sad. Um, and but as Ted said like earlier, this is slowly getting better. And so I think like now is like a really great time to be like a girl do math. There's like so many and I'll talk about this more on the next slide, but there are like many, many more opportunities for girls. And I'm just really excited to see it. Like I don't even mind that I'm not like eligible for any of these anymore, because I'm just like really excited to see so many more girls doing math. So I want to talk about specifically about math prize for girls, but I will talk about like little other things that girls have in math. So math prize for girls is probably the first and only like actually girls only contest or experience that I've ever had. I this photo is from 2018. It's a really great and really difficult contest, and it's for the top. It says 300, but plenty there are like 50 girls who just can't make it. So it's more like 250, 260. It's held at MIT. That was the first time I visited MIT, and I like as soon as I got there, I knew I wanted to go there. It's a really great experience. You can meet a lot of girls. Like there's a variety of ages. You meet a lot of like really cool people from all over. You make some really great friends. You see some old ones. I remember like I would see plenty of my friends from like from the camps that I had went to, and we would have like reunions. We'd have dinner together, or we would go to events together, or even like around on contest day, we would just like roam around the campus and just like mess around. And there's a possibility of cash prizes. I've never actually achieved these, but like the top prize is like $25,000. It's insane. And even if you get like top 10 or something, you get like 1,000, which is also insane. Um, in general, it is a pretty pricey it's like a pretty big commitment though, because you have to like plan out your flight over there. They do provide housing, like you can stay with a girl in a dorm. My parents never let me do this because they didn't trust. They were kind of scared that I would like get lost or something. So we would always like have to book a hotel, which is more cost. And it's overall like prices just kind of build up, and these travel contests can get a bit pricey, but honestly, I think it's just super worthwhile. Like I would not trade a single one of my math price experiences. Overall, it's just super great. And also it's like good for college. I don't actually know for sure how big of an effect it has on college, but I know I can count on probably like one hand the number of girls from math prize for girls that I know who didn't go into like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT, etc. Like those like top tier colleges. I correlation, not causation, but I I don't know for sure, but in general, it does look good. And also, like if you attend, it shows that you're like really devoted to math at the very least. So I guess that's something. I don't know for sure. Let's see what other math contests are. There's integrals, which I have never actually done or I'm not really involved with, but um that one is like open to everyone, and that one's also really cool, but I don't know much about it. It's definitely a lot easier to math prize for girls. It's run by girls for girls. It's really cool. Um, there's the AMC like certificate program, which Ted mentioned earlier, that seeks to recognize girls from all over. Like I think around 800 girls total. It's really cool. Um, and then in fact, there are actually lower cutoffs for girls for USMO and JMO, which is a mixed bag because sometimes you'll just get random idiots who go like, oh, you only made USMO because of the girls cutoff. But I honestly think it's like a really great thing overall because you get to experience this like really cool USA/USA the USA JMO contest, even if you don't quite make the very lofty cutoffs. And I can say this for a fact because the cutoffs are just like really daunting. But yeah, and it's really great to see that there's like more steps being paved for encouraging more girls to do math. And yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about that specifically. And I'm just really happy to see that the landscape's getting better overall. Here's some extra photos if you need more convincing on why Math Prize is great. There's just some random photos from my Math Prize experiences, all really fun. So I'm gonna just kind of conclude. I'm just gonna try wrapping up all of what I've said in like a pretty little bow. Math contests, they were a really big part of my life, and I'm very, very thankful that I was able to experience them. I'm super grateful to have done those. They're super fun, really great way to meet new people. In fact, I would say like probably 90% of my friends are from some form of like math or like math program. And the gender gap is growing smaller. So this is a great time to be a girl in math. But I will also say that math is not for everyone. I have definitely seen some people who just aren't quite cut out for math or were like kind of dragged into it. And it was clear that they weren't really enjoying it and they were only doing it for like college, which is not a really great attitude to take with it. So I'll just a PSA, like it's for me and it was for a lot of other people, but sometimes kids are just like you may be better off, you know, exploring like writing or like music or anything like that. And like your worth as a person is not how well you do at solving some math problems fast. So I will say that, but I would encourage everyone to at least give it a try. It's not just for the nerds at your school. It's just a really overall really great experience and really worthwhile. And that kind of leads into my next point. Scores are important, but you should focus, but the bigger focus should be improving year by year, rather than just looking at the raw number. And, you know, if you think about it, if you just improve little by little, eventually you'll make whatever cutoff you're trying to get. So long as that improvement is like, you know, not tiny. So the best way to like get better is to just improve, is just to think about what it is needing to improve. Are you like missing a lot of questions that you shouldn't be? Are you like not, do you just not know how to do half the test? Are you running out of time? I'll just talk a little about how to get better with each of those. So like if you're missing half the questions, you should really work on like making your work a bit more neat. I remember like for Amy, you should do 1 page per problem. And then like, and that was actually how I made JMO. Like I would take every problem and I would just like write up everything super neatly, which kind of drained my time, but it made it so that I did not make any mistakes that I shouldn't have. That's my best advice for increasing accuracy. And accuracy was like a really big issue for me in the past. So that was like, I think my best advice is just keep your work and everything you work on like really organized. And that reduces like stupid arithmetic mistakes. Speed, my best advice would be to do mock contests and like cut down how long you spend on it. Like instead of doing it for like an hour and 15, do it for like an hour or maybe even 15 minutes so that the real contest feels longer and you get really used to working in like a shorter period of time. So you have more time to work with. and therefore you don't like run out of time as quickly. As for power, just like focus on learning more, like, you know, just explore more math and just, yeah. Resources aren't everything. I know people whose first math contest ever was like MOP, which is kind of nuts, but that does happen. So you shouldn't like down all your money on like the newest fancy like hardcover AOPS book. Like, I don't know if that really helps. If like it may not help as you think it might. The most important thing should be like passion. Like, you could have all like this huge stack of books and just not touch them, or like flip through them and not be interested in them, or you could have like a single copy of volume 2 and then like know everything about it. And overall, which one makes you a better mathematician? Definitely the second one. And last but not least, have fun with your math contest experience. And eventually, and like, don't do it as a means to an end. Just do it because it's like fun. It's kind of hard to really quantify that, but just if you just try to enjoy your math contest process, math contest experience, and that will make you do better. Like, if you're stressing about like not making A or not making use of mode, you're actually going to do worse because you're so nervous. And that was how that really screwed me over. But if you just like calm and enjoy what you're doing, just think about like doing math, like solving hard problems, enjoying the things that you're doing, you will kind of naturally from that do better. So that's kind of the takeaway from what I wanted to say. So now I have been seeing a lot of questions just pop out, but now I'm open to taking questions. And so a lot of questions. So the first thing I'm seeing is, how many hours do you spend on math? This is kind of tricky because I didn't like block out time to specifically work on math, because sometimes life just happens. Sometimes I have an essay to work on and there's like no way for me to do math. But I would try and just spend like as much time as I could on it. If I'm not doing homework, then just try to do some math, where it's like a math mock contest, or like, you know, reading some textbook. Especially on the weekends, I try to spend like as much of my weekend as possible doing math contests or like math contest prep. But what you should really do is just whatever time you get, you should like make good use of what time of that time. Just like make sure you're doing something to like improve. So it's more like the quality over quantity. I would say that on a good like baseline number, I probably try to spend like 4 to 6 on weekends each day, and then like maybe 1 or 2 on the weekdays. But it depends. Like, as contest season, like when the AMCs were like next week, I would just like spend like literally all my time that I was not spending on school or doing or like eating or sleeping on math. When improving power, so this is when, if you're trying to improve your power, what do you suggest doing? Do you read more books or do more problems? First, you should first read your books. Because power is like the act of learning, and you're not going to learn just by having problems that you don't know how to do being thrown at your face. Because like I don't know, I don't know mass points. If I get handed a mass points problem, I will not know how to do it. So you should first learn how to do mass points, then take that new knowledge that you learn and just do tons of problems, and then that helps improve with that. How many hours do I sleep? I actively try to keep a good sleep schedule. So probably like 8 hours. I try not to stay up because I literally cannot function if I'm not sleeping well. And actually, this should be like a general thing. Like, your first priority, like even though I love contest math and it's very important to me, I would never like sacrifice my physical well-being to like do well. Oh, right. Measure. What do I want to measure in? Well, since I've been doing math so much, I think I do want to measure in like applied math. I'm not sure if I want to do like pure math, since it seems a bit too esoteric, but applied math, like math or comp sci, those I feel like would be good. So research. I did not cold email any professors, and I actually have not done any experience with that, even though I do know some people who have, and it kind of works out. But I went to honor summer math camp, and they have like research like baked in. So that was where I got started with research, and then after that I went into RSI. Oh, I so now I'm gonna have the list of questions that I was given. I kind of forgot that existed. So how did I find other girls? How did you find other girls who are interested in math? I kind of got the luck of the draw and started off in a setting that was like very girl friendly, where I had like plenty of girls at my school and plenty of girls in my area who were also like math. But when that number inevitably starts to dwindle a bit, I found a lot of friends at either math camps or at math prize. And eventually, yeah. I did not do science Olympiad. I do, so what was my, okay, wow, I'm getting a lot of questions. Let's see. How important is focus, and how do you focus so much with with interruptions? They're on like social media, Facebook, Discord. Block out the distractions, like actively take away, like, yeah, like you should actively like remove things that are distracting you, like your phone or computer or anything. I would also like mute all notifications. That like do not disturb mode, very helpful. And like physically put your phone in like a different room. That is also helpful. But yeah, if you're doing math, focus on math. Do not like be texting and saying, oh haha, I should be working on geometry right now, but instead I'm like, you know, messing around. You should really focus. It's definitely important. When did my parents know I was talented? I don't know if I was even like talented in math. I just like started doing it and I started liking it, and that was like the really big thing. How many years of math do you need to be ahead of school math to do contest math? What other, okay, I should go sequentially. I'm getting a little, so my RSI project, it was also a math project. It was specifically about combinatorics. I would talk a bit more about it, but I think I would just like start rambling. But it was like a really cool project with graph theory. It didn't win anything special, but it was a very fun project, and I got to really explore problems. What should I do if I understand all the concepts in a problem and understand the solutions, but cannot apply that solution to similar problems? That's a really good question, and I would say just let the like read the solution, understand it, just drop the problem for a few days, and then come back to it later, and then like try doing it again. If you're not able to apply what you learned from it, then it kind of shows that you didn't really learn how to do the problem. So, what helped you apply for RSI? RSI is a pretty interesting experience because its application is literally college applications, but harder. So like after I applied to RSI, like MIT and like college applications in general were just a complete breeze. Like I did like I had already seen the worst of it. RSI is intense. Like it's like your essays are really long. You should definitely like write all the way up to the word limit for each of those, and then like super carefully read through your essays. Then you have to talk about your experience, like your awards, and then like rec letters. It's basically everything you hear about college applications, but it's just harder and also extremely unpredictable. Like I know some like extremely intelligent people who like did not get into RSI. So it's like really unpredictable, and I don't think there's any way I can like say do this thing and you will for sure get it. So let's see, how many years of math do you need to be ahead in school math? I don't have a great answer to that because I kind of got lucky with my school like advancing me in school math, but in general, like, and I also saw this earlier, do you need algebra 2 for AMC 10? No. You shouldn't. Like you should not need logarithms or like trigonometry on AMC 10. It's just everything up to geometry. what was I answering? So in general, school math, you should just learn up to whatever contest you're doing. Like AMC 8, you just need to learn up to like AMC 8 things. AMC 10, just up to AMC 10. And then AMC 12, math prize, Amy, pretty much everything on that is pretty much all of high school, but there's also a lot more like number theory and combinatorics that are not taught in school. So in general, like school math is a really bad metric because I don't think I've used a single thing from school that I learned from, like, I did not go into like my school math class thinking, oh yes, this will help me on the AMCs, because like at that point they deviated so much, because school math kind of teaches you how to like plug and chug and then like take this really easy like quadratic formula and apply it to a bunch of things. The AMC like math contest, however, will require you to like take that thing that you learn and apply like 3 other things to it, and then like really think of how to do it. They won't tell you what should you do. What other extracurriculars do you do? I play violin, and I also like, but I also play violin for my school orchestra, and and then like research, and I guess that's kind of it. I just like really focus on like a few things. How do you improve on Amy and consistently solve hard problems? Hard problems are like very largely an issue about power. So so first of all, getting like that foundation is like should be your first priority. Once you're done with that, you can then turn to those hard problems and then try applying the things that you've learned to those. And then just continuously practicing those things that you learned until you really truly understand them. Who do you turn to for help when you're stuck on very hard problems like JMO, AMO? My parents at that point could not help me, and I didn't have like a tutor or anything. So in general for JMO, AMO, I would like online is great because I had a lot of good friends who are like extremely helpful for those. And also being in like programs like Otis, which you can look up, is like Otis at Otis and Evan Chen. Oh, oops. It's like I can't say for sure how great it is, but it's like this on Evan. It's like here. That one it's like great for like if you're at the Olympiad level. I can post the link in the chat too. But I know a lot of people who benefited a lot from it, but I don't. And I definitely benefited from it, but just at that point, like it didn't really help me do a whole lot more because at that point I didn't mob. What age should I start to intensively study math? Probably like intensively. Like I was really like serious about it even when I first started, but like I really kicked it into high gear when I got into middle school and then again in high school. So what's my advice for finding motivation, time, and energy to do this? Yeah, being the only girl in a huge like group of boys is like really depressing. In general, look for programs that are connecting with a lot of girls. Like, I really like a lot of my friends. I don't get to see them on like an everyday basis because my high school does not have that many math contest people, and the ones that are all boys. So I would connect with a lot of people over the internet. So as for advice on doing all of those things, it's just mostly just to really enjoy it. Time is purely time management, and just like in general when you like, and I would actually say that doing math contests like actually helps you with schoolwork because it teaches you like these problem solving, like how to like problem solve, which makes you do your schoolwork faster. Like math contests have a lot of implicit like benefits more than just like doing math fast, which makes it one of my favorite things to do. Like because it helps you a lot more than just like teaching you how to do like ugly geometry. So that's time, but also in general, like get a planner if that helps you, or like manage out what you're supposed to be doing. Don't procrastinate. As for motivation and energy, is mostly just to enjoy, like have fun. Or if you're like me and will just get like really stressed like right before a contest, you could just like you have that panic fuel you. I guess that works. Is it too late to prepare for AMC 10 from grade 8? Definitely not. I definitely know. I know some people who started in like 7th or 8th grade, or even 9th grade. I would say probably in middle of high school might actually be a bit late to start contest math, but you can still do great things from there. Um, um, I do a science research project before I applied to RSI. I actually did, and I did it at HSMC. That was like a computer science project. Um, I Yeah, I forgot to mention which campus like I did. Idea math in sixth grade, going like in between sixth and seventh grade, and then math works at Texas State from seventh to eighth, eighth to ninth, ninth through 10th. And then 10th through 11th, I did MOP. And then 11th through 12th, I did RSI. And then now I'm back at MathWorks being a counselor. Which high school I'm at? I'm at Westlake High School. It's your plain old public high school. It's not like a boarding school or anything. I don't know what those are like. They seem very cool. What enabled you to go from Amy to MOP? To go from Amy to JMO was solving a lot of problems. I got an 11 on Amy, which got me there. And then for JMO is one of those weird things because I didn't really have formal Olympiad practice. So what I mostly did was I kind of just took what I already did and then used that fat time limit to really explore the problems. And then I was able to like cook up like not super formal solutions, not the kinds that you would find like a textbook, but like I treated them like a puzzle. I don't know if that really helps, and I can't really speak too much about like formally preparing other than just like do a lot of problems. But yeah, I would also say that MathWorks helped me a lot with writing proofs since I hadn't done too much of it prior, and like it kind of even if it didn't teach me like the Olympiad skills, like I still learned how to like write a good rigorous proof that like doesn't leave too many holes. Do I still attend math class at school, or is the school okay with you using that time to work on contest prep? No, I took normal math classes from 9th through 11th grade. I didn't like, and then in this year I just kind of, I kind of ran out of math classes. So, I didn't really, my school did not sit well with me trying to use math contests as like a leverage of me doing like me getting to get away with certain things. So sadly, when I made Amy, did I take AMC 12, not 10? I would say AMC 12 is actually, well, it depends very widely on how much you know. I would say if you know like trig or logarithms or complex numbers, you should totally go for the AMC 12 because you need to solve fewer questions, and which leaves you less prone to get screwed over by not being fast enough and not being accurate enough. You just need to focus on like doing like 14 or so problems, and then you'll probably make it. Sorry, my nose is like really stuffy. I think I have allergies or something, but I made Amy through the AMC 12 from 5th grade to 7th grade, and then in 9th grade, and then 11th and 12th grade, and I made Amy through the AMC 10 in 8th and 10th grade. If I'm demotivated, I would just like, if I'm demotivated, how do I get back and start working productively again? I would take a fat break and just like do other things. And then when I'd come back to math, I would just like I would do really easy problems to just make myself feel better, to fuel my ego. And then I would like throw myself back at like the hard problems. But yeah, it is really easy to get tired. Sometimes you just need an ego boost. So feel free to just go open up like a math counts test or like a test that you had done before. Like sometimes I'll look back on like a specific AMC that I really liked just to like try it again and see if I could get a perfect or something, just for fun, not really to like practice or anything. When did I find that I have real talent in math, not just training and hardworking? I don't know. I still don't think I can really be considered like talented in a traditional sense. I don't know. You do see some people who are like absurdly talented and they practice like an hour a week and then they somehow do super well. But like I would say talent is not as important as people make it out to be. When did I felt like I had a knack for it when I first did my first math contest, but some people have like a really bad like first contest experience and then like they still end up doing really well. So it just comes, I would say the more important question you should be that should be asked is like, when did you find that you started really liking the math contest that you did? If you like do a bunch of math contests and you still hate it every time, but maybe you should like try something else. And if a girl finds out she cannot beat other boys in a math contest, um, I like that's like a tricky thing because like the answer to that is that you definitely should not be thinking, oh, it's because I'm a girl and girls are just naturally worse, because I definitely know girls who could like who have I've beaten plenty of boys in my day. So you should just keep working, you know, do it for yourself, not just to and you know what? If you need spite to prove that, oh yeah, like I'm a girl and I could beat you, like, and if that helps you work, then that works. What makes you choose Amy or AMC's over math contests such as Math Counts and Math Kangaroo? I don't even know what make. I don't even know anything about Math Kangaroo. Math Counts is only middle school, so that was why I only talked about it for like a little bit. And then, but AMC's and Amy's are like AMC, Amy. That cycle is like the biggest contest cycle, so that's why like it appears so much, because that one's like the most, like 50,000 people who take it. That's like a lot of people. Um, so that was why I did it. But I did like a variety of contests, not necessarily because I wanted to do well, but even though, yeah, I mean, I did want to do well, but most of them were just really fun. Like I remember H17 November here, that was really fun. This was really fun. All of my math price for girls experiences were really fun. Math counts was a lot of fun. I keep saying fun, but that was what really kept me going. All of these things were just fun. And that's like a really important thing. Um, how did you overcome competition anxiety? Oh, this one's really tricky. I still don't have a good answer. I'm still trying to figure it out myself, but like, um, you just have to like repeat to yourself that you've done all that you can. It just comes. It First of all, it comes with time. Like over time, the more AMCs you do, the more used to you get to the feeling. You can do timed math contests to get yourself used to the time pressure. You can like repeat to yourself, I've done everything I can. I did all this practice. Whatever happens, happens. It's all in God's hands or whatever. You can tell yourself all of that. But sometimes you just have to work through it instead of like necessarily like have instead of like pushing it away, you just kind of live with it. For a sophomore, is it easier to make mop from JMO or AMO? Definitely AMO. Like JMO is like pretty easy to like lose points, and like the later questions can be hard. I definitely know like, and also the number of spots at mop that are open to people from JMO is much smaller. Now, if you're a girl, I would recommend you do JMO, but for like a math person in general, you should try doing it from USMO, and that's like most of the people I know made it from USMO. I'm not sneezing. I should probably go blow my nose at some point because I sound really gross right now. Sorry. At what age did I start math contests? I started it at 3rd grade. Thank you. I'm just gonna blow my nose because like I sound really gross. All right, there, that's better. At what age did I start doing math contests? Let's see. At what age did I start doing math contests? I did MOEMs, Math Olympiad. What's it? What's the acronym? Contest problems. Math Olympiad contest for elementary and middle school, I guess. Math Olympiads for elementary and middle schools. Yeah, that was my very first contest. I think it's like an all right contest, like in terms of like problem quality. But I think like a more common first contest is probably AMC 8, and that was and that I didn't do until 4th grade. Let's see. Yeah, math counts. Is it easier to qualify for JMO or AMO? Definitely JMO. I don't know why I kept doing the AMC 12 as if I was going to make the USMO, but JMO, not only are you doing the AMC 10, which is like an easier contest, you also have lower indices. So you should first go for JMO and then go for AMO. How would I describe my parents' role in your path and passion? First, when I was like starting off, they were like pretty, they would help me do the problems or like sit with me while I was doing the problems and help explain them. But after a certain point, they couldn't do that much of that. So after like, after like middle school-ish, they kind of like separated from the math part entirely and just focused on like supporting me financially and like emotionally. Um, did I write about my math contest experience for my MIT essays? Kinda. I didn't write. I definitely wrote about it in my RSI essay. For my MIT essay, I try to keep it more. I don't know. I'm forgetting what I wrote for all of this. I wrote about things that like kind of went from my math contest experience. Like I talked about um giving certain talks or something like that, but I didn't talk directly about it. Um, I do not know any coding, and I'm actually really bad at comp sci, so don't know much about that. Um, everything else about extracurriculars, I've done those. I've talked about those. Like blow my nose again. When you can't solve a hard problem you think you can't solve, how do you work around and solve that problem? You just kind of kick the bucket, pull up the solution, and then focus on really understanding the solution at that point. Like, yeah, like there will be, and then at that point you just assess how much you know about it. If it's a solution like, oh, totally could have thought about, like if you look at the solution and you're like, oh, I was so close, I just missed this last case, or I missed like this last step, then you just focus on like, trying to make it so that you know how to do that last step or like when to apply that last step. If you are at this phase where you're like, oh, I understand the solution, but I have no idea how I like, and like maybe I should think about it next time, but yeah, then now you've learned something new about like applying certain things. If you see a solution and you're like, I understand it and I totally get like how to do it, but I have no idea how I would think about it, then chances are you may need to practice doing more of that type of problem, to get used to like recognizing the signs and like developing that intuition on how to use those specific things. Oh boy, what were my high school stats? ACT, SAT, GPA, all that stuff. There we go. My SAT was garbage. I don't even remember what it was. I just did not submit my SAT score. My ACT was a 36. GPA, I was in the top 10. We didn't use a 4.0 scale. And I did do some volunteer work. Mostly with like, but honestly, volunteer hours are really overrated, and because I don't remember submitting that number anywhere. Like I don't know how many volunteers I had, and I don't remember submitting it like anywhere or like mentioning it in anywhere. So like I think that's, or like volunteer hours are not worth it. Okay, so big question are like, how do you balance math studies with like high school stuff, especially like the social studies? Haha, social studies, I actively avoided it by like skipping it over the summer. Like world history, bye. I did that over the summer. US history, also over the summer. Economics, government, took it over the summer. Actually, government, I took it like concurrently with high school. But yeah, I knew those classes at my school, like world history, AP WAP or APUSH, were bad. So I was like, all right, bye. I'm not taking these. I'm not writing your essays. I'm just going to skip them over the summer. And that allowed me to open up time to do my other classes and also do more math. I took Chinese at high school as a foreign language, but I don't think it matters that much. I just kind of like foreign language, I just wanted to get a good grade, and like I didn't have enough energy to like do a foreign language. But if you're interested in doing like Spanish, in fact, I know I have a friend who I know someone who is like at MIT right now, who is Chinese and did French during high school, and then another person who's also at MIT who did Spanish and then also like Spanish literature, was like really cool. So I did do AP Chinese, but like if you do like a different language, then that's like super cool, and it could like potentially help you in college. Oh, and both of these people were both math contest people too, so it's not like they really sacrificed like math contests to do like foreign language. How did I do well in the AMC 8 at 9 years old? I have no idea. Like I didn't even know it was a math contest. I was just like, oh, yay, cool problems, let's do them. And then I think I might have gotten lucky too, because like lucky too, it was my first time. But like I did do a lot of practice before. What AMC 8 and 10 score did I have in 6th grade? My AMC 12, I did not do AMC 10 in 6th grade. I did 12, but because I was weird and I just like hated the AMC 10 with a burning passion. AMC 8, I had a 23. In fact, I've never gotten a 25 or even a 24 on AMC 8, which is kind of sad. But I had a 23. And for AMC 12, I had a 106.5. Yeah. What did I plan to major in? I probably applied math, like math and comp sci or something like that. Maybe economics. I am still kind of undecided, but lucky for me, I have like a whole year to decide. What's my favorite motto? Uh, Let me think. I don't know. Have fun. I don't have like a motto for myself. Maybe like it's all in God's hands now when I walk into a contest. Maybe there's that. How much more effort do you make from Amy to USA JMO than from AMC 8 to Amy, or AMC 10 12 to Amy, I guess. AMC 10 12 to Amy felt like not too hard, but like the Amy to Olympiad jump took me 5 years, so like it was pretty rough. It's like a lot harder because the Amy is like so much harder and you can't get lucky with guesses. So you like, and then the Amy is like just so much harder than the AMC. So you have, and the fact that you have to do well on both of them means that like if you get unlucky on one of them, then you just like your Olympiad chances are dead. I think we should. Okay. Which elementary school did I go to? It was just like another normal elementary school. It's Valley View Elementary, but it's just your standard elementary school. I have not gone to any like special schools. In fact, I actually did apply to Phillips Exeter, but I got rejected. So sucks to be me. Why do I recommend USA JMO for girls? Because the cutoff for MOP is lower. And also like in general, the USA JMO is like a much more gentle contest from the Amy than the USMO. The USMO, like the jump is insane. But the both of them are still pretty rough. Like I know plenty of people who got like zeros on JMOs. I'm like, that's like totally fine. Fun math books for kids or specifically girls in elementary school or middle school. That's a good question. Elementary school, like, you know, obviously the AOPS books are great and they're like nice and fun. There's also like this weird book series. Let me see if I can still find it. Like, math books for girls. Like there was like this one that was like, oh yeah, math doesn't suck. This thing. I don't remember. Oh yeah, girls get. Oh, I remember this so specifically. I checked it out at the library. It was like so weird, but it was like it described geometry in like terms specifically for girls. Sometimes it got so disgustingly like girly, like oh yeah, you know, talking about like very specifically like fashion things that I was like not interested in. But I just remember it was really funny and like it was kind of fun to read. So I don't know if it's like perfect, but it was one that stuck out to me. I don't remember if I read too many of other specific ones. How did doing content math impact your social status? I feel like there's a lot of underlying jealousy almost at school, and it's kind of low self-esteem. Not social status. I mean, the funny thing is more people were like concerned with what math class I was taking in school than like my math contests. Most of them had no idea what math contests were, and they just thought it was like, oh, I remember one girl, like she was like running for office in like our school's math club, and she specifically described math contests as being sitting in a room doing mashing numbers for an hour. I'm like, that's not what it is, but okay, go off. But that's the perception of what math contests are like. So everyone just saw me as like this massive nerd and not like jealousy or anything. Some people probably were like a bit jealous, but I didn't interact with them too much. I mostly just kind of kept to myself, and when it came to math, it was like a very personal thing to me that I didn't really talk too much about other people with, and I wanted to keep it that way. So I didn't really talk to other people, and I tried to keep math contests like a thing to myself, and that really helped me like not worry too much about what other people think. Did my parents teach you math at home that put me to advanced level when I was in elementary school? Yeah. I don't remember specifically what things, but I did read like some books that do like math practice problems. Um, so yeah, I guess that did help me get ahead. Um, had I skipped history classes over the summer? It depends on what school you go to. I just kind of I used the community college's online classes and just like kind of breezed through. What extra math classes did I take? Let me go back to my slide and I'll see specifically which ones. I did AOPS classes, which are I'm not sure how much I recommend these, but I mean they're not bad. They're like and they're like very popular. It's just that they're really easy to get distracted in. Otis is good, but it's like really high level in general. Like I guess I don't remember where else. Yeah, I didn't take any other classes to my knowledge. My favorite math experience ever. Probably PMWC. Because that one was when I went to Hong Kong and it was just pure fun. ARML was also great. And Math Prize was also great. Math Counts, everything. Like honestly, it's really hard to choose a favorite because I love all of them. How was the time pressure taking time limit? MPFG. Oh, so test pressure and time limit. You have 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, no, 20 questions to do in 2.5 hours. It is surprisingly time intense. Like I have never finished. No one's gotten a perfect score, so that should say something. And do students talk a lot with each other at MPFG? Yes, for sure. It's super duper social. Like I literally include all these pictures because it's just me and my friends like having a good time. It's just super fun, and I think it's a worthwhile. And I saw someone ask about like what kind of a monetary investment. It's a very strongly depends on where you are and how much plane tickets are for you. That's gonna be like your big cost. They do provide food on the day of. It's really hard for me to answer. I don't even remember how much a plane tickets were. Generally, I could get them like 150. I want to say round trip. I don't know. It shouldn't be over $1,000 if that's any consolation. I would say, and then like I would say probably like around 500. Oh, what did I do in my school? My school's math. Did I take any classes from Momentum, Awesome Math, or Idea Math? I did take Idea Math in 6th grade, and I remember nothing because I was in 6th grade. I was 12 years old, and I spent all of class trying to get away with reading things on my phone without the teacher noticing. Awesome Math I've never done. And then Momentum, I don't think I actually did much for Momentum, but I hear that they're pretty good from my friends who have done it. Then again, Awesome Math apparently is also pretty okay. And yeah. What did I do in my school's math class? Did I need to listen and do school classwork? It very strongly depends on what kind of teacher you have. My teacher was really chill, so I spent my math class, like I wish I could say, oh, I worked hard in my math classes. I did contest math. But no, I like played video games at the back of the room. Don't do that. Don't do that. Focus on your math class. What level do you have to be applied for Math? And like, should probably have like, honestly, you should look at the application problems and then like see them. In general, you should be like, trying to be making ANI or like at around the ANI level. It's a really great experience though. And like the community is super supportive. You get to like, ask questions to like people, whatever. And like most of the staff are like moppers or above.
Just a friendly reminder, we're actually 20 minutes past the
We're
hour.
overtime.
So yeah, maybe
yeah.
just take one more question.
I'll take one more. How do I get distracted from math classes? You get watched. Like I got my phone confiscated a lot. And eventually I just shut up and started doing the problems. When you're doing practice on your own, in general, you should just like really focus. When you have like a really little kid, you're gonna need to like take their phone, watch what they're doing. But after a while, they start to like really want to do math contests on their own. So yeah. That would probably, so that's the thing about focus. It's very much focus, very much like after a certain point, like the person has to really want to focus on whatever they're doing. But it's also like a maturity thing. Like I was 12, I was immature, so after a while you kind of get over it. I think that's about it. So I guess that's all the questions we have time for. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to me talk. It was really nice to
Isabella, thank you so much tonight. I think the talk is very interesting. Can you actually go to the next slide? Yeah, I just want to mention real quick, we have a few more presentations coming up in the next, next weekend, we actually have two. For those who are interested in joining, you're welcome to join next week as well. Isabella, thank you so much again, and enjoy your summer at MathWorks before you're heading to MIT. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. You will see lots of your friends there at MIT. It will be a good time.
thank you
All
for
right.
having me. It was really nice to
All
do
right.
this
Thank
talk.
you everyone for joining, and have a good weekend. Enjoy your holiday.